For nearly 10 years, I believed my life was steady, secure, and unbreakable. My marriage to Mark had lasted 9 years, and from the outside, everything appeared flawless. A cozy home, financial comfort, and our daughter Sophie, whose bright smile could light up any room, made it seem like I had it all. Yet, somewhere along the way, routine crept in, dulling the joy I once felt. What had been comforting began to feel confining. I longed for excitement, a spark, a reminder that I was more than just a wife and mother. That's when Jenna returned to my life. She had always been spontaneous, untamed, the type of friend who could turn an ordinary day into something unforgettable. She spoke of freedom, fun, and the exhilaration of escaping the mundane. And I listened. I wanted to feel alive again. I wanted to be Lisa, the daring one. At first, it seemed harmless. Late nights out with Jenna, too many cocktails, laughter that stretched into the early hours. I flirted casually, relishing the attention, convincing myself it was meaningless. But one night, fueled by alcohol and Jenna's relentless encouragement, I crossed a line I couldn't undo. A man I barely knew bought me drinks, said the right words, and I followed him to his hotel room. I told myself it was a single mistake, one I could hide. Jenna assured me it would stay secret, even joking in her texts about the whole incident. I came home to Mark that night, feeling the weight of my guilt. He looked at me with the quiet concern I didn't deserve. I knew he suspected something, but I brushed it off. When he questioned my late nights, I laughed it away. "You're imagining things," I said, masking my fear with a smirk. "You're just being paranoid." I thought I was clever, untouchable, but I had underestimated Mark. He had always been observant, meticulous, far sharper than I gave him credit for. When the truth surfaced, it wasn't for my confession. He already knew. One evening, he set his phone on the table, his expression unreadable. My heart sank when I saw what was on the screen, messages between Jenna and me planning that reckless night. Photos, too, laughing at the very mistake I'd tried to bury. Mark had uncovered everything through the cloud backup I didn't even realize was synced. He didn't yell. He didn't shout or curse. He simply said, quietly but firmly, "I know what happened. This is over." And then he walked out, leaving me frozen in the silence of our home. Panic gripped me as he ignored my calls. It wasn't a warning, it was the end. Everything unraveled from there. Mark moved in with his brother and immediately involved a lawyer. Every move he made was calculated. He had the hotel receipt, the screenshots, even the bank records to confirm my betrayal. He froze our shared accounts, shifted his savings, and left me with nothing. Initially, I was furious at Jenna, blaming her for steering me down this path. But when I confronted her, she shrugged, her indifference cutting deeper than any insult. "Not my fault you got caught," she said coldly. She drifted away, spreading half-truths to mutual friends, leaving me to bear the shame alone. The fallout was swift. Friends and acquaintances treated me differently, some with pity, others with judgment. My so-called exciting nights had crumbled into humiliation. Within weeks, Mark filed for divorce, citing infidelity, and requested primary custody of Sophie. With the overwhelming evidence against me, I had no chance to contest it. Visits with my daughter were now limited to weekends, each one breaking my heart. Her confusion and silent disappointment were unbearable. How could I explain to a child that her mother chose a fleeting thrill over the family she loved most? Therapy became my sanctuary. Session after session, I tried to understand why I risked everything. Jenna had influenced me, yes, but ultimately, the decisions were mine. I had mocked Mark's concern, laughed at his love, and underestimated his steadfastness. The consequences were mine to face. The following months were a blur of regret and isolation. I moved into a tiny apartment, far from the life I had taken for granted. I worked long hours at a job I despised just to cover legal fees and living expenses. Meanwhile, Mark thrived. He kept the house, created stability for Sophie, and rebuilt his life with careful patience. The first time I saw him after the divorce was at a school event. He looked composed, calm, even content. He had regained the peace I had destroyed. By then, he had moved on. I approached him once, murmuring an apology, but his response was distant, almost formal. "I hope you find what you're searching for," he said, and then walked away, just as he had the night he left. Those words still haunt me. I had mocked his caution, doubted his love, and taken for granted the strength he quietly carried. His calm, decisive silence was far more devastating than any confrontation I could have imagined. Now, each day reminds me of what I lost, not just a husband, but a partner, a home, and the respect of my little girl, who deserved so much more. I am slowly rebuilding my life, striving to be worthy of the title of mother again, yet the echo of my own laughter, the laughter that led to this ruin, lingers, a constant reminder of my mistakes.